So now, to finally finish this class, I want to give you what I have found in my study and practice to be the 15 main keys to hypertrophy in your training. The first is consistency and frequency. All right, this is the biggest key to making the adaptations that hypertrophy is. Simply put, the more you train, the more adaptations your body makes. So don't skip days. Instead, you should be thinking, how can I train more consistently? How can I train more frequently? That's what's going to get you more gains, more than anything else. Number 2 is optimal form and technique. And if you have not seen part number 3 of this program on optimal exercises and form, or part number 4 on optimal training technique, make sure you watch those. You're simply not going to be able to optimize hypertrophy unless you know that stuff. Number 3 is having a good mind-muscle connection and using that for precise targeting, okay? No trainer is going to be able to get inside of your body and tell you what feels right and what's giving you the maximum pump and what's making your muscles burn the most and how much effort you are actually exerting and how much work your muscles are doing. You need to be able to gauge that by having a good mind-muscle connection. So be focusing on your muscles and how they are working, and use your body awareness to not only get the best pump, but to target different parts of the muscle. Okay, once you become very in tune with your muscles, you should be able to make little tweaks and adjustments in, for instance, like the angles and just the way that you are lifting to target different parts of the muscle and really cause the best hypertrophy. Number 4 is to get a massive pump, because as we learned in this class, doing that pumps the muscle full of anabolic metabolites. Number 5 is to not just focus on the upward part of the motion, but to be doing isometrics at the top and bottom and a good slow eccentric. Okay, these 3 parts of the movement are very hypertrophic and important. Number 6 is proper loading and progressive overload of not just weight, but volume and technique, as well as your RPE, or rate of perceived exertion. All right, but more on those things later. Next, number 7 is a high time under tension. All right, especially when you are using lighter weights, you want to have a high time under tension of about 45 seconds or more. All right, so you can accomplish this by using higher rep ranges of 10 to 25 plus, even 30, or doing your reps very slowly, or doing a lot of isometric holding in your set. But one way or another, when you're using lighter weight, as the load goes down and thus the tension quality goes down, your time under tension should go up. Okay, so make sure that when you are lifting lighter, you are maximizing your TUT. Number 8 is to do both extreme ends of the rep ranges, using very heavy loads at times with 5 or less reps, and at other times using very light loads with 25 to 30 or sometimes even more reps. I've even had some gym buddies that were extremely big bodybuilders who would do hundreds of reps at a time, sometimes in a cluster set or doing fast partials, and that kind of metabolic workout they're doing must have been really brutal. That's something that only really advanced athletes can handle, okay? But the point is, make sure you are doing both ends of the rep spectrum, lifting heavy and with a max load at about your 1 rep max, or maybe 2 or 3 at times, or at least 5 or under, and then at other times, try 25 to 30 or more. All right, it's so important to do both of these so that you can get maximum myofibrillar hypertrophy as well as maximum sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Number 9, program yourself for mostly compound movements, and isolation exercises should be marginal and considered accessory work that you just do a little bit of here or there at the end of your workouts. All right, but almost all of your energies, like 80 to 90% or maybe even more, should be going into compound movements. Number 10, focus on doing fast explosive reps that take about 2 seconds per rep most of the time, but also throw in some very slow reps at times as well for good measure. All right, that will make sure that the speed is maximizing the motor unit recruitment like I talked about in number 2 there, but it will also work more fast twitch muscle fibers. However, you do also at times want to train your slow twitch muscle fibers and do some exercises that get you maximum time under tension. But most of your reps should be done fast, just not all of them. Next, number 11, generally speaking, you should have a RIR of about 2 or maybe 3 if you're getting heavier, especially if you're lifting max loads. Your RIR RIR should be like 3 or 4, okay? However, like I said, with lighter loads, you can be doing 1 or 2. And what is important to know about the rate of perceived exertion is that you will also be prone to underestimating it if you are not a really experienced weightlifter. What happens to people is that they have more left in the tank than they are aware of. It is so important that you make sure you are not accidentally underestimating your RPE. Again, you need to practice good mind-body awareness and try to gauge your RPE correctly. And this is something that's really easy to do. All you have to do is go until you hit what you think is 2 RIR, and then keep going as long as you possibly can after that. See how many more reps you can get in, and in most cases, it's actually going to be more than 2. Okay, so doing that will really help you to realize how much energy you actually do have for doing this kind of work, and you're just going to have to practice at it, and again, building your mind-muscle connection to make sure that you are gauging your RPE accurately. And make sure that you're going about 2 to 3 reps to failure in general, and more or less if you're lifting heavier or lighter is key. Number 12, recovery time, and getting sufficient recovery is such an important key to hypertrophy. In fact, your recovery time is actually even more important than the time you spend in the gym. The time you spend in the gym is actually destructive. The actual muscle building is occurring during your recovery time. So make sure you are taking your recovery just as seriously, if not more, than the actual workouts you are doing. And the most important thing about recovery, besides getting all of the nutrients you need, is sleep. And something you may not know about sleep is that sleep is actually anabolic, and a huge amount of hypertrophy occurs when you are asleep. So make sure you are getting enough of it, because an athlete who's doing hard hypertrophy training will need 10 to 12 hours of sleep every night, or maybe 10 at night and another 2-hour nap during the day in order for your hypertrophy to be optimized and maximized. Okay, I know it may seem like a lot, but it's important. And if you're going to spend all the energy that it takes to do that hard training at the gym, it only makes sense if you are actually able to grow from it by getting enough sleep for your recovery. So if you aren't getting that much sleep, start going to bed earlier. And I'm going to be teaching you a lot more about recovery and fatigue later in another part of the program. But moving on, number 13, remember that stretching causes tension, which causes hypertrophy. Okay, so if you are stretching and another athlete isn't, you're going to be getting more hypertrophy than them. And that stretching also causes a different type of hypertrophy, where you're actually getting sarcoplasms in sequence rather than just in parallel as usual. Okay, but another thing about stretching is, talking about recovery, stretching enhances your recovery and enables you to heal faster and thus train harder and more frequently as well. All right, so don't forget to stretch. It's hypertrophic, it helps you recover, it's just so good for you. It is a very important thing for an athlete to do. You should be stretching every single time you train within 24 hours. And if you don't know how, go back to part 3 and watch class number 3 on health training. It is covered there. And number 14 is variety and manipulation of training variables, and just always switching things up from time to time to make sure that your muscle is not getting used to things too much and that your exercises are going stale, causing muscle confusion, and manipulating your training variables so that you can stimulate more growth. And then lastly, number 15 is eating enough macros in a steady stream throughout the day. Getting about 1 gram of protein per lean pound of body mass, as well as a significant amount of carbs and fat, since they are also anabolic. Isn't that interesting? And I'm going to be talking more about protein in the next class, but for now, all you need to know is that the rule is 1 gram per lean pound, and that is more than enough for most people, okay? So make sure you're getting that and not more than that, because excess protein is not anabolic. And I'm actually going to be teaching a full program on fitness dieting that you can look out for. All right, if you are subscribed to the channel, you should be notified when it comes out, and any videos like this one in which I mention it should be linked to when I do come out with it. But that being said, those are the 15 biggest keys to hypertrophy that I have found in my study and practice, that if you utilize all of, will maximize the amount of hypertrophy that you get out of your training and cause you to grow as big and muscular as you possibly can. Just know that, again, you don't need to use all of these all the time or all at once. Okay, you should be using different ones at different times in a periodized fashion, and I'm going to be teaching you all about periodization and how to do that later in the program, so don't worry about that. Just know, that you should be using all of these at sometimes, different times. And what you need to do is to experiment with all of them to see which ones you like like the best, or which ones work best, or which ones you think you need to use for longer than others. Some of these you might not want to use very much, such as lifting maximum loads, okay? Others you might want to use more. There's gonna be some personal preferences involved with what you just enjoy and what you don't, and there's gonna be some techniques that you seem to get more results out of than others. And some techniques are good for different lengths of time or to be done at different times. And you find that some techniques combine well and others don't. And some have a greater SRA curve and cause more fatigue and need more recovery. There's a lot of customization that needs to take place with your programming. I'm going to teach you how to do that as well. Don't worry, I'm going to be teaching you about everything you need to know. But however, for this class, this concludes this class on the science of hypertrophy, on the physiological mechanisms and their training implications. I hope that you have learned a lot in this class, and you can look very forward to the next and final class in this part, which will be on the biological processes of anabolism and muscle protein synthesis and breakdown. I hope you found this class helpful. Now, make sure to put what information you learned into practice right away before you forget, okay? That way it can actually go to work for you, because speed of implementation is one of the keys to success. If you have any questions or need any help, be sure to let me know either in the comments below or by the email address that is in the video description below. And if you are passionate about fitness but don't have time to do all of your own programming yourself and would like to have an expert programmer like me create and manage all of your fitness routines and planning for you, who can systematize your training so that you can reach your goals as fast as possible, be sure to inquire about my online personal training and fitness programming services. No matter what your schedule, budget, or goals, I can formulate the exact right program for you that will expedite your progress and growth and get you the body you want sooner rather than later, okay? And without ever spinning your wheels in the mud or hitting a plateau. And if you liked anything that I said in this video, be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button and notification bell too, so that you can get all of my other videos that are like this one. And just remember that these videos are actually part of a course that is laid out in a linear fashion. So make sure you have seen all of the videos before this one that you need to see, and that you are subscribed and will continue to watch the videos that you watch on this channel in the order that they are presented to you.